We ready, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good. Let's call this working session of the East Peoria City Council to order. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Decker?
Here.
Hill?
Here.
Mingus?
Here.
Sutherland? Mayor Call?
Here.
All present except Commissioner Sutherland, Your Honor.
Thank you. This evening's working session is on the 2045 Comprehensive Plan. It's an update. With us this evening, we have Ty Livingston and special guest, Kristen Harden. She's with PGAV Planners, and she's spearheaded this project for us, so I think they're here to give us an update. Ty, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is an update on our comprehensive plan, and this has been a long, ongoing process, but it's by design. It's designed to provide lots of opportunities for feedback and input from our residents, as well as the council and other interested stakeholders in East Peoria. So today we got together with our joint committee, which is comprised of members of our ZBA, Planning Commission, as well as our steering committee, to take a look at some refined proposals from Kristen and her team. The first one we really focused on was future land use map, and this is really very important going down the line, that this is for a 20-year planning horizon. It's going to change over time, but it's a great place to start. And as we've seen with whether it's zoning within the city or as we look outside the city, this is a very critical document to have in place, that we want to show folks this is what the city is interested in, this is what we want to see, and then also to protect the city as we look at potential developments that might not be as beneficial to us. This is the first step in protecting that right and that ability to plan for the future for our community. So it's a really critical piece, and we spent quite a bit of time today on that. The other thing we talked about is some recommendations that Kristen and her team have for us looking forward. We've got some really good bones in our existing zoning code, and they have some changes. Some are really pretty minor, but some things that can really go a long way to encouraging more density, more development, looking at residential, mixed-use development, those types of things. And I think you'll see that as you look at the land use map, I know you've got panels in front of you to take a look at. There's a lot that's changed there. That our current future land use map is pretty generic. It doesn't go all the way out to the 1.5 miles. This one does. We're going to make sure that we cover the entire area. One of the things that's already come out of the comprehensive plan that we're acting upon is a future development boundary with the village of Morton. And this is pretty important for both communities because it says we're going to go to here, we're going to go to here, and it gives us some good expectations for where we have to put infrastructure, that sort of thing. But it's been a really good experience, and that should be presented to the council here at a future meeting in September. So we're already acting upon recommendations that are coming from this process, but we'll look for doing more as we get things wrapped up here. As Kristen said today, there's light at the end of the tunnel. And so with that, I'd like to yield the floor to her so she can share all that's going on.
Well, first of all, I want to apologize to Kristen. We had a little technical difficulty here. We could not get our projector to work this evening, and she had a presentation to give. So apologize in advance for that. We'll work on it for the next time. Thanks, Kristen.
No problem at all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Ty, Madam Clerk, for the opportunity to share an update on the comprehensive plan today. So since our last update, which was back in April, we've held our final open house for the comprehensive plan. So was the third and final open house. This open house was held on June 25th here at City Hall. We had roughly 70 to 75 community members that came out to participate and share their feedback. The content and engagement focus for that meeting was the draft future land use plan, as well as draft the goals, objectives, and key results for the city moving forward. So I think we got some good feedback from the community coupled with the joint committee to refine that, and that's what we presented this afternoon to the joint committee. The handout you have in front of you are materials that we used in our meeting this afternoon with the Joint Committee. The first handout are sections of the community broken out of the draft future land use map. So you have a lot of area to cover, so it was helpful to kind of break it out into sections to help people kind of digest it a little bit better. Overall, with the future land use map, some of the kind of big picture goals include defining residential density for East Peoria. Density looks different from community to community, so we wanted to make sure that that was clearly defined, and we got the feedback that we needed to build consensus around that from the open house as well as input from the joint committee. And then looking for those opportunities to build residential density in a way that, doesn't disrupt the character of existing neighborhoods in a way that would be uncomfortable for the community. Also wanted to reinforce the commercial corridors within the city. So we know we're down here in the Levy District that's seen a lot of investment, over the last couple decades. But there are a number of, other corridors, Washington, Meadow Avenue, Springfield, Pleasant Hill, other areas of the community where you kind of have pockets of commercial development at different scales and sizes. And so we want to make sure that the future land use map respects the character of those corridors and then supports the comprehensive plan's goals and objectives that think about ways to encourage reinvestment in some of those areas. Identifying industrial development opportunities was another big piece of the future land use plan. You'll see, I believe it will be section 5, so the last page in that map handout, as we look outside the city's existing boundaries to the south. There are a couple of areas in that direction where opportunities for future industrial development have been prioritized, as well as it should be section 1 to the north of the city, another area near the riverfront where some industrial development is prioritized. In addition to supporting industry and employment throughout the region, another reason why this was important is, we've talked about the trend and impact of large-scale commercial solar just across the state. And we wanted to make sure that we accounted for that within the future land use plan. And so based on how the city currently permits that use, that area to the north that's been identified as that heavy industrial area, as these properties come into the city, this future land use plan kind of says, hey, we know that this is a growing trend across our state. As these opportunities become real in our community, this is the area where we would prefer that type of development go. So then you can, preserve those other areas for employment and more productive uses. One other thing that I'll mention here on the future land use plan, you'll see in the legend that there is symbology for proposed roads. So an important piece of your future land use plan is thinking about the major street layout. So there are some areas throughout town where we have identified opportunities for kind of major arterial and collector type roadways, primarily to the south in that growth area. There is a lot of land to be had that could potentially come into the city in the future. And so one of the major road opportunities that we see is going to be the need to, at some point, create some new east-west collector or arterial type roadways that'll tie into Springfield Road and connect, future residential subdivisions and commercial districts down in that area.
Kristen, if I could jump in real quick.
Yeah, sure.
So this is a little different than our current comprehensive plan. Currently, we have these things all separated out, the future transportation, the land use, and I think what Kristen and her team did here is very beneficial because we're putting these things together because there's no doubt that if you're going to put a new road in and there's an intersection, that's going to spur some sort of development or just a new road in general. So to tie these two together as far as future land use plans and future transportation plans makes a lot of sense. But it is different than what we currently have, and I think you'll see a lot of other improvements in the comprehensive planning process to hopefully guide us in the next 20 years.
Yep, absolutely. And the other part of the transportation component of the future land use plan is regarding active transportation. So thinking about how non-motorists, so people walking or people biking, get around the community. There are already some existing plans for future trails throughout the community. But we think that East Peoria could, take an additional step to prioritize areas where you already have roadways that connect people to key destinations, schools, parks, places like the East Side Center, retail areas, ensuring that there are connected sidewalk systems and safe spaces for people to walk and bike along existing corridors. So that's where you'll kind of note recommendations for active transportation corridors, just ensuring that those kind of improvements are available for walkers and bikers in the community. So the second half of the meeting this afternoon with the advisory group was related to reviewing some of the goals, objectives, and key results for the comprehensive plan. So overall, we are working with 4 key themes, one being growth and development. This is really focused on balancing growth via, annexation and new development with how we, maintain what you already have and reinvest in some of the areas that haven't seen as much investment in recent years. Housing, again, this is primarily about, identifying ways to build density within the community in a way that makes sense, in a way that is marketable and attracts the types of housing that will attract the families and population that the community wants to have. And then thinking about the policies and strategies that help you do that. Transportation and connectivity, again, as I mentioned, this is really about increasing mobility and connectivity throughout the city for all users and modes of transportation. Recreation and tourism is the 4th core theme here. As you know, the city is not the Park and Recreation Authority. We have a separate Parks and Recreation District that manages that. But something that we've heard throughout this planning process is that the community is really interested in having, more things to do in the way of entertainment and art and culture and events, things that may not necessarily fall into the realm of this always happens within a park or a park type facility. So we think that that is a space that the city can step into and partner with, the library district or the Peoria Area Arts Commission to bring more cultural events and activities to the community to address that need. So within those 4 themes, we have specific objectives and key results that we believe will help the city be prepared for its future. The second handout that you have sort of outlines those objectives and key results. Working with the advisory committee this afternoon, we've gotten through some of those in our conversation, got some good feedback. A lot of these will get wordsmith over the next week or so to make sure that, it fits what's important and what's needed here in East Peoria. Those that you see highlighted in orange were the focus of our conversation, and those were based on prior feedback from the advisory committee. Key results that maybe folks felt like they were more neutral about and needed better understanding and clarification about what that actually meant for East Peoria. And then the same thing with the open house. Those highlighted in orange were some where maybe we just received less feedback on, perhaps, again, because people didn't quite understand what that would mean for the community. So we're still working through those. The joint committee will have through the end of this week to give us any additional feedback that they have on either that future land use map or the OKRs, and then we will move forward from there with refining and finalizing things with staff, and then we'll be on to writing the plan.
Yeah, it's amazing just how this is all starting to come together. A lot of this stuff, to Kristen's point, working in these groups, and plus the open house, sitting back watching what some of the folks weigh in on at the open house, and there were some questions there. I know Ty, I know Kristen and some of her team were there as well. And It's just interesting watching this come together. It's been a long process, but I'm excited to see where this is headed. But to your point about the land use map, I love how this is all coming together and included in one, so you have a better understanding. You know, I think it's neat.
Definitely gives a more complete picture. And I'll piggyback on what Kristen was saying about the objectives as we look through those. You know, those that were shaded, like she said, we either didn't get a lot of response or the response was kind of, we're not really sure about this. And so some of it, as we discussed with that group today, is wordsmithing it. You know, how do you avoid trigger words, and how do you get it to the point where it's, you know, really a very reasonable approach and makes sense to everyone. And I think there's a lot of opportunities to do that. That, you know, as you look at land development and that sort of thing, you know, how do you provide opportunities both for conservation, but also making sure that you keep land prices reasonable and that sort of thing. That what we certainly don't want to do is kind of price ourselves out of things and make development more challenging than it should be. And I think that that's one thing that this city has always done a really great job on, is how do we make development as easy as it possibly can be, because it's a challenge. I mean, development is hard, and so our rule is to make it as easy as we can, not to make it more difficult. And I think that's what differentiates us from other communities.
And I agree, Ty, and I mean, we've heard it. We've sat through meetings where people have been very complimentary on how we conduct business here, but more so I look at this plan, and I know we've made similar comments in the past about having these plans and you approve them and then they kind of get tucked away. But I mean, we've kind of learned through the last few years as things change the importance of having this plan, but not just having it, but taking these opportunities and actually doing something with them.
Yeah, and that's why I mentioned specifically the agreement with Morton, that you know, that you've got a great relationship with their mayor, and it made that conversation a whole heck of a lot easier than it would have been 10 years ago. Yeah. So to be able to have that dialogue with them, and it's been a recommendation that I think Kristen started right out of the gate with it. Hey, you guys need to get this stuff done like you've got with Washington, and so to be able to bring that forward to the council next month is a testament that this process.
Yeah, Ty and I jumped the gun. We were bringing it forward this week. Yeah, just because we were pleasantly surprised, and hats off to Mayor Kaufman and his team, because it was a very short, amicable meeting, and we're surprisingly both on the same page, both Morton and East Peoria, so that was easy to bring forward.
Yeah.
But
doesn't always work that way. But
well, there's a process too,
yeah.
like a 30-day notice or whatever the case may be, but we'll bring that before council next month in September. But you guys, anything you guys want to weigh in on or ask?
I just want to say that I'm really happy with the progress and the process. It's a very good thing to have a plan that is easily executable. I mean, we know of a few places in town that maybe went under the radar. People didn't know how it was zoned. Maybe it was bought by something placed there that residents didn't want. It's nice not only to take a look at our town from a development standard, but also to see the plan of what we want it to, what we want to be created in the future. I think just recently we've had conversations about what we'd like to see, you know, outside of our community, around the edges, and I think this is very important. So in the past, when we would talk about the comprehensive plan, it was something that we spoke about, but wasn't really tangible. Wasn't something that we could go grab and hand to someone, and now we can. And I really like how this is done. I think that I keep looking over at the legend to see, you know, what, even though I looked at it already, I just remembering what it means, and I think it's just very well done.
Yeah, and I'd like to point out, you know, with the input, I think the input's been pretty good. I mean, you know, of course, you always hope for more people because they tend to share their opinions on social media a lot. Versus investing time to come down and weigh in. But, you know, some of the questions that I heard come out of their mouths when we did the open house were great questions, and it's to the point of asking for a clarification on some of this. But I appreciated the fact they were coming down and providing input, because oftentimes this stuff just falls on your lap and you're thinking, okay, I can use my best guess on what people would like to see, and then that could be a good guess or a bad guess. So I think public input has been pretty strong.
Yeah,
That-
one of the things we've learned in this process, and thanks to Kristen and her team, was the atrium is really a nice forum for that. That traditionally we've held things in here, and people didn't always realize there was something going on. Unless they intentionally came here, and we found some good opportunities, and they even engaged. When you had parents that were taking their children to the library, it was a great opportunity to get some additional feedback. And they had activities for the kids to get involved in. And so that atrium has really been a very nice forum and very open and inviting, so that anybody that's come through the doors has been welcome to offer some feedback and have.
I know a few folks came up to me to ask me questions, and I'd guide them to you guys because I don't want to be biased, I mean, that's kind of why I kind of sat back and didn't really, of course, I participate in the review committee, but outside of that, we want their honest feedback. That's what it's there for, so. Any other?
One thing I remember, Mayor, one of the events that they had, talking to a few people that were out there, and the creative minds that people had, they said, well, I think this should be here. And I'm not a creative person, not artistic at all, but I really appreciate that when I see that. And I think that we have a lot of very intelligent residents and visitors who have an opinion. It's nice to provide that out, I guess the ability for people to weigh in with their choices, what they'd like to see. So.
And Kristen touched on this too. I think it's important to understand, a lot of people don't realize the separation of the different taxing bodies, meaning the park district separate from the city. But the hope here is even the stuff that's recreational and park, that we can go and forge a good enough relationship as a community, recognizing this is what the community hopes to see, and maybe partner with these other bodies to, bring this stuff to fruition. One of the surprising things that I recall from the onset, one of the earliest things of feedback we got was people were looking for more mixed-use development. Pardon me, just spit there. But yeah, that kind of surprised me because here you look at all the keyboard warriors that are ripping on the city for what we have going up next door, and it's like, wow, okay, I wasn't expecting that. But, Ty?
Yeah, well, and I was going to say that, one of the great things about this process as far as the timing, we had the opportunity to get in front of a couple of high school classes that you and I, as well as Brad and Rick Swan, have been able to go to Mr. Fleming's class, and they work on a development project. We also had an outreach effort with Mr. Collins' class with Kristen's team, and the students were really engaged. I mean, we kind of expected we'd be there and have to kind of, drag it out of them sort of thing, and we got them going, and it was like, before you know it, the class had ended, and they were just, spitballing ideas, and so I think we really had a good opportunity to reach out to, that's the future of East Peoria, and
Right.
Often a group that gets overlooked because they're in school, they're not necessarily out working, but we're appreciative to get those opportunities and certainly look forward to more of those. But I know the thing with Mr. Fleming's class has been kind of a regular thing, and it's a great opportunity to interact with the high school students.
And it's outstanding. I got to tell you, hats off to Mr. Fleming, and I love it every time they invite us. It's interesting watching these students because they have to do the legwork. So that goes into not just coming up with what they would like to see here as far as development. They have to go and do the legwork and figure out the zoning, if the zoning requirements are there, and where to locate, and then they have to go interview surrounding businesses to see what their thoughts are. But it's always fascinating. Surprisingly, not to tip the hat here, but we've had a couple land on things that we've either brought here or are plan to bring here, and it's like, wow, these it's interesting.
Although the roller rink still seems elusive, but that one comes up quite a bit, which I find interesting because you'd think that would be, that's what my parents did or what have you, but we've heard that one many times.
I'm not going to lie, Mark Hill
Roller-
and I,
roller skating
we're
rink.
showing our age here, but my weekends were spent at the roller rink. I'd love to see one come back for the younger folks and older folks alike. I mean, weekend after weekend, that was a place to be in East Peoria.
Definitely Friday, Saturday night.
Yeah, we just, this just came up. I was kind of the cheap entertainment at the East Peoria Women's Club, and I love going there. Great group of ladies. civic organization that still remains strong and do a lot for this community, giving back. But I always enjoy going there and giving them updates, and it always refocuses on, hey, that's great, but what's next? And, you know, engaging them and getting a feel for what they would like to see. And wouldn't you know, the roller rink came up. And I said, yep, I remember it. So, but anyway, now we're just reminiscing. Anything else?
I just wanted to thank Kristen and her team, because as they've said, well, process. The open houses, I attended several of them. They came to the farmer's market, unlike most of you guys up here.
I'm glad you said most.
Again, that was the connection, because to me, the input, resident input was important, and we did get a fair amount. And so, again, that goes to this plan, this process, because I remember 25 years ago, again, I'm dating myself, when I first sat down in the Zoning Board of Appeals, I was given the comprehensive plan, which I probably still have. So it'd be interesting to compare the previous edition and this edition, which just goes to show you that, you know, the other one lasted, it had some revisions, but lasted a long time. This one is expected to guide us in quite some time. So thank you for your team. Thank you for Ty and everybody's work that went into this. So this paper is sort of misleading in the amount of work that went into coming through with this comprehensive plan.
Yeah, and I agree. And to your point on the comprehensive plan too, you can still find it on the website. I remember those days, Ty. You told me to look for it on the website, and I'm like, that's 7 steps. I counted them. Anyway, it's not that difficult today, but I've mentioned this on the onset of this whole process, I believe, the importance when you look in the comprehensive plan as it's adopted today, there's a lot of things in there that we've incorporated back in here or refined, but I think it's really important not just to have a plan that sits on the shelf. Just saying, and I hope this council recognizes that and we can continue to grow our community according to the plan. So,
Great. Thank you very much. So as Kristen mentioned earlier, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to thank Kristen. I was going to thank you, Ty. Thank everybody who worked on this. And to go off the mayor's point, this appears to be very easy to take and put into action. I mean, it's got very simple action steps as far as things to do, and the map lays out where those things are going to happen. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
yeah.
Likewise. So moving forward, we're getting close. The plan is to kind of put this together. We're taking the feedback provided today, and then she'll be putting the document together with her team, and then looking for adoption yet this fall. So we'll be seeing more of this, but this is not the end of the process. This is really the start of everything, because the next steps are actionable items. So, and we're looking forward to a document that is very usable. I think the one difference you'll see is this will have a lot more graphics to it, a lot more things that people can relate to and understand versus lots of words and verbiage that we have in our current plan. And that's kind of the trend with these comprehensive plans, and that's helpful for everybody because we want people to understand the vision. It doesn't take me or anybody else up here to explain what's going on. You can clearly see this is the vision for the future, and this is what we want to do.
Very good.
When will this be available, Mayor?
What timeline, what are we looking at as far as?
For the plan itself or the documents you?
Well, for the public, especially like on the website, so people can get on, take a look
Yes.
at, and
So this
It'll
information.
come back to us, right? It comes back to us first, and then we approve it. Is that correct? And then-
There'll be an adoption process. Now, we do have a website specifically for the comprehensive plan.
Yep.
So, Kristen, go ahead.
Yes, I mean, at this point, the draft of what you have, previous iteration of that was made public at the open house. I think we do still need to make some updates to the website so that it's kind of more all-encompassing of everything that's happened up to this point. So if anyone needs to catch up, they can catch up that way. But as we make further iterations of these drafts, we'll get those out to Ty, and he can get those to you.
Very good. Well, we certainly appreciate the work, and always good to see you with your smile. So thank you, Kristen. Appreciate it. Thanks, Ty.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
And just for matter of record, anyone in the audience wish to address the council? I'm seeing no one. Any other comments from the council? All right, hearing none, I would seek a motion to adjourn this working session.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Mangus. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Hill?
Aye.
Mingus?
Aye.
Mayor Call?
Aye.
All present voting, aye, Your Honor.
Thank you. The working session's adjourned, and we'll reconvene with the regular meeting at 6 p.m. promptly.